So that's okay now. We're on live. So let's work a bit. So I said lunchtime would be good. You don't have any matters to attend normally, so it should be okay. So that's why I picked the timing, because sometimes at night it's complicated. So I'm gonna work with you on remote selling, coming from being a salesperson or having a sales team, transforming them into an e-sales team. So how to do remote selling finally. So I take every question. You stop me anytime. It has to be like conversational. It has to be like a workshop. So I'm gonna ask you questions. I'm gonna involve you, and then I'm gonna give you tricks. I'm gonna give you tips, so you can come out at least today at the end of this hour with at least 2 things you can take home. Okay, that's my goal for today, and I will tell you who I am. I'm gonna present what I do, so it doesn't come from anywhere. Like it's a bit more structured than that. So let's see. You can see my screen now. Should be okay for everybody. Okay. So just to give you a bit of background, what I'm gonna talk to you today, it's about my company. That's what we do as a living. So we train sales leadership, sales management, and we train sales teams. So the goal is to make them more efficient. So today, of course, it's a big matter. So we do that across the world. And I'm having a franchise in France. So I'm developing the French country. So I know that in Spain, I've got friends that are over there. I've got friends in Germany. I've got friends in the UK. I've got friends in Finland. So we are really well based. But so if you need some more information, you can go to the Sandler Training office anywhere in your country. So just to give you an idea, we have sales team and sales management. The goal is to maximize the time, maximize the effort, and have a bigger return on investment. So today, the way we're going to look at remote selling is what is wasting our time, what can't we do, what don't we manage to do, and how we could do it differently. I love a sentence from Einstein that said, if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you keep getting the same results. And he called that craziness. So if you want new results, you are obliged to do new things. There's no other way. So getting out of our comfort zone. So that's what we're going to work on. Everyone is on? It's okay for you? So we're going to do 3 things. I'm going to explain to you what's going on, how the job evolved, so for your team or for yourself. Then I want to look back a little bit. I'm going to look at the business. And we're going to look at what is the real value we bring up to the market. What are we good at? Because if I don't see any value in what I'm doing, or if people don't perceive the value that I'm bringing, actually, you're worth nothing. So what is the real value and how we talk about it? And then how we transpose that from being the salesperson, seeing physically people, or phoning people, to being behind a screen, prospecting behind a screen, getting meetings behind the screen with people I never talk to. So this is my goal. Any questions for you? No, nobody has a question. Okay. Ah, I've got Rakesh coming in. Should be in. Up. So I will carry on adding people, so no worries. So just a bit of a background, and then I ask you a question. So we've been evolving, but the way we do sales hasn't changed much, okay? So that's what's going on. In the 50s, we say that, and there were studies that are proving that. You can see a study from CEB, that's a big company doing some studies on salespeople, etc., sales process, etc. And we look at how important we were into the buying process. So buyers, if we tell them, buyers, prospects, or customers, whatever, when they were choosing to buy something, they had 100% of their time given to the salesperson. They needed someone to help them make a decision. So they needed the salesperson to help them on a specific topic, to bring them the information, to take them to another space. They needed someone to drive them to a solution. And they were using 100% of the purchasing time with the salesperson. In the 90s, we occupied this space. But in the 90s, we didn't knock on doors like we would do that in the 80s, in the 50s or 60s, 70s. In the 90s, people just starting to come. So we were seeing like a change. People were getting more information. People had a network. You could cross borders. You could cross, I would say, regions. In the 50s, it was more difficult to cross region, to cross borders. So the information was really given by the salesperson. In the 90s, started to change. So we can get information from our network, from other places, from the media, etc., etc. And nowadays, I can tell you, we get information from everywhere apart from salespeople. We probably could do deals without talking to a salesperson. Look, when you buy on the internet, we can pick up any kind of, I would say, product or services. We can choose it on the internet. The goal for us is to understand what's happening and how to be more efficient. So in the 50s, we had 100% of the purchasing time of the buyer. Today, what do you think we have left as a salesperson? How much time from the buyer do we get? What do you think?
10%.
10%? A bit more.
Buyer usually don't really care. They trying to avoid salespersons at all costs if it's possible. So at least from my experience.
If it's possible, they will. Well, I use the generic
I'm
terms
trying
of
to avoid all of salespersons.
Yeah, of course.
I'm trying to avoid them.
And this is pretty normal. And I will come to that why you're trying to avoid salespeople. So what's happening is out of this 100% of the buying process that we had in the past, when we were really starting to sell, really, now the purchasing process is done 60% by the person that wants to buy something. So I call the buying process or the purchasing process whatever purchase that someone wants to do. So this customer will do 60% of the process on his own, okay? It doesn't consult any salesperson. It will just consult internet, his network, etc. At the 60% comes in the salesperson and he has maximum 20% of, I would say, time to try to do something with this buyer. But this 20%, you come at 60, you leave at 80, he still has 20% to choose on his own. So before you had 100% of his time, now you've got 20, 25 maximum. So how can we do the same job, doing the same thing with probably a third of the time? That means we need to change things. There is no way we can carry on doing the same thing and making or having the same results. So we need to be a lot more efficient because we have no time. So we can't do the same thing and same old things. Okay, is okay for everybody at the moment? So that's the real issue we are facing. So now I would like to ask you one question, and I'm gonna break you into groups. We'll see. I think we are around 10 or something like that. So there are this is the same questions, but some of you will better understand with the first part and some of you will better understand with the second one. So what is your added value to your customer? What do you bring to the customer? Or better or differently said, why are they buying from you? Or why are they buying from your competition? Because this is the value they will see. They buy from you for a reason. You add value to them for a reason. There is something you're adding. And I would like you to go into, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. And I would like to divide you into groups. I'm going to do 3. I think I can do 3. Yes, I'm going to do 3 groups. And you're going to discuss that. Is that okay for you?
Fine, yeah.
What is the value that you bring to customer? And then we come back and we share the ideas that we have. So I'll give you 7 minutes and then we come back into the classroom. Let's go. You should get a little sign and you can go into your groups. Did you get the sign, everybody? Okay, perfect.
My added value, I believe, is my expertise in the corporate world. I've been in the corporate world for 40 years and did almost any job besides bookkeeping and legal. So my expertise, my solid coaching background, and the service I give and the flexibility I offer to my customers. So I tend to over-deliver, and if anybody wants to get out, I don't hold them back.
Okay, so that's your value, you would say?
That's what I believe my value is.
Perfect. That's okay. And others, who wants to share?
Yeah, I can. If,
Martin?
basically, I'm helping experts, coaches, authors of specific topics to digitalize their expertise. And because usually, as we talked with Wolfgang, he's selling time, but you have 24 hours usually, and that's it. But with digital products and digitalization of your expertise, you can help much more people. And basically, this is what I'm helping top level experts, how they can expand and scale their business. Because what they're doing live, like one-on-one, or like we're doing now on Zoom, this is high ticket products, and they can be sold, but they need to be sold at really high prices. But everything else can be packaged as digital products, and they can be delivered to 1,000 people at the same time while the expert author is sleeping and so on. So basically, this is what I'm doing from the production side, from marketing side, distribution, and business management side. I'm doing something like this for, I don't know, 20 years almost. So I know some things, and I don't give a bullshit about new solutions in the market, because usually this is just the marketing. And I test most of those solutions. I already have the practice in this field. I already spent really big amounts of money in this field. So I know what's working, what's not. And I think this is the biggest value, what they can bring in 1 hour and can save years of, of newbies who are entering this market. So this is what
Perfect.
I deliver.
So you make them richer sleeping.
Yeah,
They sleep
basically,
and you make them richer.
I'm selling them live. So basically, they have more time for their life. So
Okay. Someone else want to share? Someone else realized that maybe I don't have that much added value than my competitor.
Now I can share. I'm doing the same thing as Wolfgang. I'm a business coach. I'm working on leadership and mainly on personal strategy in the business. I think that my added value is for my customer. I bring knowledge, self-worth for them, better self, strategy, consciousness, a deeper understanding of self. And they are buying from me, I think, for my expertise, but my kindness, agility, honesty, innovation. I always bring new models and a wide range of methods and models.
Okay. So a lot of values, I hear a lot of values, methods and everything. It comes after, and even your tone of voice change when you say methods and tools and whatever. But the values, I hear it clear and loud. So normally you will see that people buy from people. We buy from people that we trust. Otherwise, it's called a robbery. We don't like to be robbed. We don't like to do business with people we don't trust because we never know what could happen. And then we don't sleep on our 2 ears, as we say. So we're always like cautious. I'm going to share a screen again to show you a little bit a map of where you could be into this matrix. So that's a matrix of purchasing. So where are we normally? If we are commodities, we will be down there. I don't think we are around commodities here in this group, but if you buy pens or if you buy glass, it could be seen as a commodity if you don't see the added value that you bring. So this is very dangerous place to be. This is a place where you don't have a sales team to sell. You put it on the internet because it has to be a very low cost of opportunities. That's how we do it. Then if you have a small risk of procurement, but a very big added value for your customer, so they could buy these somewhere else because there is no shortage, but your product or service brings something very different to them. So there is a leverage to play. You could partnership for that. You could be there with them and build even bigger service for them. So like you could customize it, okay? So they need you. When they are here, they need you. If you appear on their map as being a critical service, it's like there is no really added value, not really, but they need you because there is a risk to get the product, to get the service. It's like, for example, they will need you for coaching. They know they could use somebody else, but on your field or in your area, there is nobody else available. Nobody. You are on, I would say, a monopolistic kind of field. That happens. But they don't see like a very big added value. They just know they need you. But for the business in such, it's not a big added value, but they still need you. They need you, for example, that would be an electricity stuff, or that would be a gas stuff, or they need you, but there is no added value in the service. But if they don't have it, there'll be a problem. You see? So it doesn't bring something, but it could stop a business running. So a coach could stop, not having coach could stop a business running because everyone could have a nervous breakdown. And where we all want to be, it's really here. It's the strategic service. We want to be seen as a strategic partner, meaning we are had really high added value service or product, and there is a risk when they buy it, meaning they could have a shortage. What we deploy for them, it's unique. There's only us capable of deploying that. So that's a strategic service. So when I work on that, I always like to know where are we based in every kind of customer's place. So if you take all your customers, where do you think they see you? And then you develop a strategy to change that, to go into the strategical, I would say, service. So that's a strategy you can develop. Any question on that? Because this will really mean that you will stay with your customer or you will not stay with them. You'll have them for long term or you will not. Okay? So that's pretty simple. It's metrics that you can find anywhere, but that's very important. So for me in sales, what will make the difference between you and any others is your capacity to not sell. Is your capacity to challenge someone, challenge a prospect or customer. It's making them think differently, making them have another idea of what's going on, making them see the situation on another angle. It's be really interested in what's going on, being genuinely there for them, not for you, but for them. A real salesperson, the real value of them, it's their interest in others, their capacity to solve. I've heard Martin, Wolfgang, Laetitia also, you are genuinely interested in people to perform. They need to perform better. They need to use their time better. They need to solve something that they didn't manage to solve alone. They need us. So this is a lot more important than anything else. And I always ask myself the question, why do they buy from me? Why would they carry on buying from me? And why would they buy from my competitor? Because if at this question, why do they buy from me? And why would they buy from my competitors? The same thing come out, like service, strategy, I'm present when they need me, so I'm a quick answer questions, or I'm, I don't know, I'm reactive or whatever. And my competitors is exactly the same thing. I say, whoa, we have a problem. I'm actually exactly the same as my competitors, okay? So this is really important to know, where is the added value? And if we don't know it, we go and ask our customers, why did you buy from me? What make you buy from me? What was the trigger that told you, I'm the one? We are the company that we need, or you need. And this is very, very important for you to grow and to use. This is where we start from. So now, if I had to ask you one more questions, what are the most difficult things that you are facing in remote selling? So I would like us to share all together, but what is the most difficult things that you are facing right now? Either you sell yourself, or you sell product, or you sell service, or your team selling a service. What's going on? I'm gonna stop sharing and we're gonna discuss it a bit. So tell me, I'm listening.
I think to convince that you are the person that is bringing the added value, the strategic level of support for their problem solving. You know, that's the key thing, because if you have FaceTime with people, then you have a very dynamic exchange and you very quickly understand where the shoe is hurting. And if you're then competent in saying, well, I believe it could be this or this, let's look into it, let's solve it together, then you're on the same side.
Okay, so that's the part of convincing, not face to face. So this is more complex. Okay, Aziz?
Yeah, what I wanted to say is that I'm into textiles, technical textiles, and it's very difficult to show textiles over the internet. And so you cannot feel it, you cannot. So that's a real challenge, And
okay.
so the only possibility is to go and meet them in person.
Okay, so that means at the moment you're not selling because you can't see them.
Yeah, we're just continuing selling the products that they bought in the past. And as I mentioned before, I don't know if you were in our small little meeting, but people are not ready to take any risk and bring in a new product. So we're just continuing selling the product that they have already.
Well,
now.
isn't there a way that you can put together a sample pack, and when you have a request, sort of send that out? So that's, I think,
No, that's what we do. That's what we do, of course. But you know, it's not the same as if you would present it and you would tell the story around it. It's just they're just going to receive samples and it's some marketing material. It's not doing the same way. Unfortunately, we have products that are difficult to sell just remote.
I got lots of customers like that with product they can't demo or they can't do anything. So for the demo, they need to be a process behind it. You don't just send them the material, the tissue over. You just have to have a process attached to any action. And actually, the virtual way of selling is just about process, prepare, run, and debrief. I'm going to show you that, but this is, if there is one thing that we need to do with prepare, there is one sentence that say, if you forget to prepare, prepare to be forgotten.
Like that.
Yeah, that's very
So,
true. Because, I mean,
Really like it.
I'm thinking about the before. If you don't prepare for a trade show in advance, you might as well not go to the trade show, because if you're just there to you know, to wait for your customers, obviously today there's no more trade shows, or very little physical trade shows. But the most important thing is what you do before and what you do after the trade show, not what you do during the trade show. During the trade show is just PR.
you just deliver. You deliver what you've been preparing. But if you forgot to prepare, you have nothing to deliver. So virtual meetings, this is the worst case scenario, because if you forgot to prepare, unfortunately, your customer will remind you that you're a stupid guy. Sorry, I'm talking really blind, but this is the truth. Because you are wasting your time and theirs. You're not prepared, you don't go to a meeting. That's end of the conversation. Problem with salespeople, they think they're gonna whinge it when they'll be in front of the customer. Well, see, I got it, I've done that many times. Should be easy. Never the case. I like to say, if you prepare, for example, sales, it's like going into an Olympic Games. Someone that registered for an Olympic Games, it had to have some training before, and he trained like 100 more times than someone that doesn't go to the Olympics. He doesn't wake up in the morning and say, well, we'll see if I go to the Olympics. No, it trains and then goes. And the salespeople and us, we do that. We train in front of the customer, which is very dangerous. It's like going through the Olympic Games, never training, never doing something to prepare ourselves. So we need to prepare our meetings like we prepare for a delivery, like we prepare for a meeting with coaching session, like we prepare for any kind of products. The product line is prepared. It's always in maintenance, and we should be always in maintenance. So that's so any other things that really troubling you in this selling remotely?
Just one more thing to add is that you should know more about your customer and the markets you're in with them than they do. So that's very important, I think. It's sometimes challenging with all the information that you have to take in and with all the information that is available, but I think that's really important.
Like, I know where your children go to school.
If this helps, why not?
Depends of the country, depends.
Sometimes you don't know if they're at school, actually. If the teacher
for some
doesn't
products,
tell
I
you.
know where you live. So any other things? Yeah, Wolfgang? Yeah.
Yeah, so as I work as a coach, working with the coach is a very personal relationship. Okay, so I found it challenging to establish that personal relationship over a video conference rather than meeting somebody, having dinner with somebody, and so forth.
So this is okay, perfect.
This is the challenge.
Okay, so that's the challenge, building the link or the bond with someone that you don't meet.
But on the other hand, I think
Okay.
it's a little bit old school what you just said. I hate these dinner meetings with suppliers because, as Amélie says, mostly they come unprepared. They just think they buy a glass of champagne and the food and you have to be thankful. That's bullshit. That's not what it is. So they're missing the opportunity. On the other hand, I have developed with suppliers in California a super integrated problem solution focused relationship, and I've never met them in person. Never met in person. Whenever I have an email, I get a response. I get, samples of products which are exactly what I need in order to solve my problems. I have other suppliers right in front of my door here who would like to get in there. They have no chance. They even can be cheaper because I have an integrated partnership. I get analysis done. I have a responsive team. They're there for me. It's like a department in my own company, 100% commitment. And I think you can establish that even in a long-term relationship.
Yeah, I fully understand that, Stefan. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying it's a challenge for me that I'm working on.
Yeah. And let's see little things that can be done, but there is one big thing that we all have to work on is the mental state. Selling remotely is totally possible. There's nothing that can stop us from doing it. The proof is we were selling by phone before. So for me, there is face-to-face, there is the phone, and in the middle, there is a camera. So there is the visio. Visio is another alternative to be in the field, to be present, to stay in touch with our customers, to see our faces without having to move. Because this is a big opportunity for companies to sell anywhere in the world because everything is open now. It's a big opportunity to make more money because you should invest less doing that. And of course, you win time. So based on that, you should make more money because you don't have people traveling everywhere. And they are in their environment. And when you meet people in their environment, they are a lot more responding. And you should be able to build a bigger or a stronger relationship when you are in visio than when you see them once a year in their office. Because visio allow you to have a repetitive connection with them. So it can be a 10 minutes conversation in visio, something you would never do, but you were doing it maybe on the phone. Well, use the visio to be even more connected. If you can't use the phone, it doesn't matter. Some people prefer phone, others prefer visio, whatever. Everyone has his channel, but it's really important to use the three in combination. So I'm going to show you something. There are things that we do and we don't do in visio. So let's see. Will it come? Okay. I told you, prepare. It's the harder things we have to do, and it takes a long time, but this is the most rewarding things. So we need to prepare. We need to run what we prepared, and then we need to debrief. That's a 3 phases time, always, no escape. And then there are things that we need to do during the meeting. So you have to be trained on body language and active listening. You can look at tons of things. There's a book, let me check because I think I've got it in Spanish because I speak Spanish and I was training in Spanish before. That's this book. This is just a fantastic book for the one who speaks in Spanish. The other one, go and look for it. It's Joe Navarro, and it's an American guy. For body language, this is the Bible. This is just fantastic. Then you have to active listening mode, enter into active listening mode. There's tons of things. It's just opening your ears, closing your mouth. That's what we call in Sandler the 70-30 rules. Give space to your customer, stop talking. And when you are a coach, you know how to do that. You apply that for customers. It's easy because that's what you're used to do. And then you really have to prepare your questioning strategy. What do you want to get out of the meeting? How do you gonna get that? So which question are you gonna ask? And you also have to be prepared with the objections, which objections could come up and how you will deal with them. And we do what we call an upfront contract. So I'm going to show you what it is, but it's really setting up the agenda from the beginning. And this agenda says how long we're going to stay for, what I'm expecting from the guy, what he can expect from me, what will be, I would say, the goals of this meeting, of course, that's normal. But finally, what will be the results? And I'll tell them at the end of this meeting, we'll decide if we go further or if we stop there. Is that okay for you? And everyone has to agree on every point. This is an agenda. This is like a contract. This is bi-directional. They can add anything, but I want to make clear and sure that we're going to get what we want both at the end of the meeting. So like that, I've got a really perfect, smooth running meeting. And if you want to stop prospecting, ask for referrals. Ask your customers for referrals, any kind of referrals. You need conversation. So that's what you ask for. So those are the main rules to run a virtual meetings, but you should run it already like that into real life. We are not supposed to demo something. We're not supposed to present something. And that's the don't, what we don't do. We stop presenting, we stop talking, we stop trying to convince, we stop giving information and justifying ourselves. Because all that, it's all about us. And the customer doesn't care. The customer cares about what he has to solve, not what you have to sell. He doesn't care. So stop talking. Is that okay for you? Any question on that? No?
As they say, people always try to get through the door that is closing rather than the door that is opening in their face. You know?
Exactly. We never see what's really there because we are so convinced we have to go that way. And it's just here. Easy peasy. And that's where, who told me at the beginning? Is it you, Azus, that told me? No, it's Martin that told me I avoid salespeople.
Yeah, because they don't know
Is it
how
you,
to
Martin?
sell, usually. Because they are not prepared. And I know how to sell correct way. And those who are prepared, I really love them because I'm learning the process. I'm always the process man. So I'm just looking how they're doing this. So for me to sell, it's really hard for them because I know what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. So, and if they're doing something interesting, I'm continuing to talk. If they just unprepared and I'm saying I'm not interested in the product or service, or I'm just saying, okay, what you have unique and why I should work with you, the same question, and they cannot answer, that's it. You just close the call. The same I'm doing with the prospects. At the moment, I'm preparing the sales script where we have like 6 steps. And if your prospect or lead never answers or agrees on your question, you just stop call and just move to another one because they are not prepared to be your client. So you don't waste their time and your time. So usually I'm working like this. So that's why I hate salespeople who are unprepared, not understanding what they are doing and so on.
Perfect. And most of us hate salespeople just because they're liars. They could sell anything to anybody at any time. They just could sell their mom if they could. They are the worst people on the planet. Have you heard such, I would say, such bad stories about salespeople? You hear very, very few good stories about salespeople. So we all have a background of cliche about what is a salesperson. and it's in our subconscious mind, and it doesn't help us to get into a conversation. So when you are hunting for new contacts, you are running or you are facing those objections already, but no one will tell you. So that's what's happening. So I'm going to show you a little bit the dance. We call it the buyer-seller dance because one is leading and the other one is following. And that's what's happening in a few minutes. The buyer or the prospect or whatever, the person that could be interested in what you have knows how to play. His goal is to gather information, and the salesperson, his goal is to sell something. That's the traditional way of seeing sales. So to show interest, well, to get information, he knows he has to show interest. When he shows interest, the salesperson say, great, fantastic. Oh, I'm going to ask some questions because I learned to ask questions to get his needs. Okay. The prospect will give some of the information, but never everything. Never, ever, ever. Because salespeople are liars. We can't trust them. So that's what's running in the back of their mind. So they keep their card close to their vest. It's like poker face. So they tell the customer, they tell the salesperson, well, we're looking for this or that. Perfect, great. Wow, I got the information, gets all excited. And then the prospect show him that he's also excited. That could be a good thing. Oh, great, thank you. Can you tell me more about this, about that? Because we are interested in buying, blah, blah, blah. Second phase, the salesperson presents. He presents, that's how we work, that's what we do, we are the best, blah, 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 blah. The buyer, the prospect, whoever you want to call him, gather the information. So he gathered all the information, and then the salesperson said, oh, I answered all the questions, he should buy from me now. I'm a good person, he should buy from me. So he's convinced that because he gave all the good answers, he's gonna get the deal. And he tried to close. And what's happening? As he's trying to close, erases the objections. And then he has to face the objections. And at the end of dealing with all these objections, all the threats and the barriers, the customer said, well, that was really interesting. Thank you very much for your time. We have to think about it. We're going to talk to our committee about it. We'll come back to you. Don't call us, we'll call you. What's happened? Does it sound familiar for some of you? Did you run into those situations someday?
It's the last
end of the story.
And then you just have to chase them forever. And I always say, depending your religion, but you finish by praying that he's going to buy something from you because you've been doing so much work and nothing happens. That's the traditional way of selling. Do you feel where the problem starts?
Resistance.
Resistance.
There's no honest relationship being established up front. Because there could also be just fishing for information, just not even interested. It's like, for example, companies that are now doing it even in HR, they have a certain position. They then say, in order for you to get an interview, respond to these 5 key questions. And then they get from 25 or 100 candidates, the solutions presented, they thank you very much, they don't see anybody. So there is this inherited distrust element. I think that needs to be tackled first. Once you're on that level, then people open up and it becomes constructive.
Actually, the showing of interest, the acting of motivated, and the gathering of informations are 3 forms of resistance. So we know,
and they are there.
Know they are going to commit to nothing.
We know because when the person is asking the questions, he is leading the conversation. And normally the salesperson should be leading the conversation because only the salesperson can qualify if he can help or not the prospect. This is not the other way around. The prospect needs help. Are we the right person? Are we the right company or not? That's the biggest questions. So as soon as the prospect takes the lead, ask the questions, that's where we lose the control. And if we don't know how to rebalance that, we're lost. And we'll end up the conversation with, we'll think about it. We'll look into it, we'll call you back. So how to do that in the other way around? How to be the one asking the question, how to be the one leading the dance, how to be the one that are gathering the information to tell the customer, we can or we cannot help you. This is what we call a submarine. This is a selling process. And the way we do it's first, as Stefan mentioned, you really have to build trust. And Laetitia said, you see the first 3 steps that shows that they don't trust us. Yes. And that's the first thing we need to do. Establish the ground floor for the relationship. And it's what we call bonding and rapport and upfront contract. Upfront contract sounds like that. If I have a meeting with Jenny, I would say, Jenny, we had planned the meeting for an hour. Is it still okay? We wanted to talk about your project in investing in such manufacturing company. Yes, that's still okay. That's perfect. Okay, any other subject you wanted to share, or is that the same topic? It's okay, it's the same topic. Okay, so I'm gonna ask a lot of questions, Jenny, because I need to know the project in its whole. I need to get a lot of information on how you're planning it, what you want to improve, how you want us to help, etc. Is that okay for you? And then the customer says, yeah, okay, perfect. On your side, do you have any questions or anything you want to discuss? Any topics I should write down and we come back to? And he tells me yes or no. And then I tell him at the end of this conversation, the goal is to decide if we carry on and we'll see what will be the next step. Or if we decide there's nothing else we can do together or nothing that we fit with, and we leave it like that. Is it okay for you? And that's when I get a really, I would say, really smooth conversation.
But you need to be prepared.
And then I'm looking.
Read.
Yeah. I tell him what's going to happen. I tell him what I'm expecting from him, what he can expect from me. And we can decide, both of us, to get out at any time. No problem at all. Because we're...
Oh, no,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say a lot of salespeople are also very focused on selling in this one particular call. And I think it's important to not put so much pressure always on the sale, because if for the client it's not the right time, you can gain so much more trust with that person if you come back to them maybe 2 months later or 3 months later when it is the right time for them. And you really, it's a fine line, because I know a lot of people want to meet quota, or they have a target or something for their sales. So it's difficult as a salesperson to try not to push the sale at the end. But I think it's really important to know when to step back and just come again at another time. And maybe that's the end of the phone call, is establishing a next time when you connect, you know?
That's exactly it. It can be that we have nothing to do now, nothing to do in the future also, or something to do in the future, or doing business right now. And that's where we say, stop going for the sale. It's not about you, it's about them. You have to go and qualify. So the only meeting we have, and we should have, all of us, it's just to qualify if we can or cannot help. And we qualify on 3: pain, budget, and decision, 3 items. Pain is the real issue of the customer and the consequences of not doing anything. Budget is, has he got the money for it? Is he able to invest to solve this problem? Is it a commitment or not? Is there a commitment or not? And decision, how will the decision process take place in his company? And if I don't have that, I don't do a proposal. If I have the 3, let's go, you qualify, it's perfect. If I decide you don't qualify, you don't qualify. Doesn't matter. And I jump onto another opportunities. And that's how we take control. And we do that, the process online as well as physically or on the phone. But it is always the same process. So you need to prepare, you need to run through it, and you need to conclude and debrief. And people love to buy, but they hate when someone sells them something. Any questions, everybody? Because it's 2:04. So I don't know if you had any more questions or anything, because this is the process you can run through with during your meeting and with your customers.
Well, what I saw, at least from my experience and just few weeks experience, usually what we find it out, what we need to understand and identify the stage of the journey your customer is in. And as you said, usually salespersons looking at this like, I need to close the deal on this call. But if that person is not prepared and he's a totally different level of the journey, and you don't have any product to sell them on that level of the journey, you fail the sale. But basically, if you have those products, we call it product ladder, like for specific stage, you have specific product, what can solve their problems. Or if you don't have, you just say, okay, at the moment, we don't have the solution for this stage. We're working with late stage customers, but we can put you on the waiting list if you agree on this, and we can contact it later. And this is normal, and this is also sale. And we have like specific different communication for different stages. We're just putting them in different stage and running different communication to them. This is how it works, but usually it also requires a lot of work. It's not just I made a sale or not made a sale. We just postponed the sale and we're working with that prospect. And some of the prospects, we just got the sale after 1 year of working with them and they being in the funnel. We send a newsletter, but has nothing to do with the sales, and we're getting sales. And we were surprised why they're buying, but we see all their communication during that period. They were ready.
Exactly.
I think that's super important point, because if you do that, if you just find out like client diagnostic, I call it, where are you, what is your problem, this kind of thing, you immediately become the doctor of their problem. So it gives you, it's a very natural way of establishing authority in that relationship and trustworthiness. Yeah, it's very, very good point. Thanks.
And this is how you can lead the call, as I see.
Exactly. Because you're not there for yourself to sell something, you're there for them to solve a problem. And if you're not a good solution right now, but you could be in the future, that's okay. But this is always, what do I have to do to get to results? And I'm really careful on what do I do to get to these results, what brought me to these results, so I can repeat it if the result is satisfying. If the result is not satisfying, what do I have to change in the process? Good for everybody?
Perfect.
Well, I was really pleased to share with you. And if you have any questions or any trouble in sales, or I'll be happy to help. Don't hesitate. I'm on the GBO, so you want something you want to discuss, I'll be free to answer you.